Hello there. Yes, I'm back, and always beard check, lumberjack shirt check. So I'm here. The reason for me saying that way is that in my previous interview that I did, I made a bit of a boo boo, and it was because I have these 50 business expressions that I always use. Now 56 actually. I didn't use one of them, and because I didn't use one of them, my previous video was not my normal quality. And so that expression, which I actually learned, well, all my expressions I learned from previous companies or over time myself. I've brought them into my own businesses so they operate better, so they've always got a type of reference to always go back to. And why this one I learned a long time ago was in the US is long preparation, short execution. Now, I have an excuse, not a reason, because a reason is I always say to be reasons are positive, excuses are negative. So I have an excuse for it going wrong, is that the person I was interviewing, supposedly for that day, couldn't make it on short notice, which means the new person that was brought in that could do it, I wasn't prepared. So when the video started, I was mumbling around trying to find cables because it wasn't plugged in, which meant my brain wasn't in it, which meant they could feel I wasn't in it, and it was just wasn't good. Now, what I also like to add on to that is that I always say to people in business and in real life, mistakes happen. There's nothing you can do. They just always happen. And okay, you want to try to minimize it. You want to try and get the least mistakes as possible. Yeah, but they're still going to happen. What's important, and I said this while I was working, while I was running the British Airways helpline, is that someone's always going to lose their bags. Someone's always going to find something not nice in their food in first class. Someone's loyalty card didn't turn up on time, or executive club card, sorry, didn't turn up on time. These things just happen. What makes a company good, or an individual within a company, is that they accept responsibility for the mistake. They rectify the mistake, and how fast they rectify the mistake. And in the conclusion, is the customer happy? So I have to say, I made a boo boo. I'm accepting my responsibility for it. I'm even saying what the problem was, and I'm going to rectify it I'm going to bring that guest back on later, and I'm going to have a much deeper conversation with much more of the information which he can give to us, because I've had great feedback. The guy is generally a nice guy, and he knows so much that's so cool for a lot of people to know. I'm not going to take the video down because I'll accept my mistake, and it's just going to be there, and that's just the way it is. I'm going to bring in something separate now from what's not really the normal type of thing I talk about. I follow on YouTube some political people, a few business people, and I enjoy their videos, and I do learn some stuff off them. And one of the people who I do follow is a bit of a left of centre political type of figure. He's trying to explain what's happening in the world today, which is making it worse. And I think he hit a nail so good on the head, because it's what's happening today politically, and people are doing it also in business, and it's causing exactly the same issues. So he basically was saying that the political leaders of our world at the moment are basically the boomer generation, and they don't understand what's going on with social media and the speed in which people get information. So the way that the boomer industry, the boomer generations try to control this is by removing data, by constricting data, and restricting what social media platforms are doing. And what's happening is, and this is China, Russia, US, the UK, it's happening everywhere, not pointing fingers at a certain country, is that the more a government controls, the more it tightens its grip, the more information they're losing, and they're losing the battle, which means that the people in other generations, which should be, people from my country, the UK, should be UK government side, the people in China should be the Chinese government side, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. They should be on someone else's side. They're losing the people of their countries understanding, because they can see, not the boomer generation, there's some from the boomer generation, but all the other generations can see this constriction and control of information, and they think to themselves, why? What are you doing? And it creates unhappiness. So let's put this into the world of work, and I've said it before. KPIs. A company I consulted for many years ago, a retailer, I still keep in contact with some of the management, so they're doing well for themselves, and that's great. And I do really like some of the people that they're good friends of mine. They was explaining to me that their front of house sales staff now have 28 KPIs. 28. Trust me, what happens is, if you have a conscientious, well-trained sales team, they will know the procedure, the hurdles to jump, to get to close, to create a sale. Now, what's happening is now they're not thinking about those anymore. They're thinking about the 28 KPIs. Because if one of them's not in place, they're going to be in trouble rather than making the money for the company, making the sale, and ensure the customer's happy. KPI after KPI after KPI. Let me re-explain it. A KPI is a form of constraint. If you use theory of constraints, which is how to build a factory kind of mythology, but put it into the sales arena, when there is a constraint, it means the business is not operating correctly. So if you're adding more constraints to the business, it is not operating correctly. So in the sales force, if you give them 28 constraints, what do you think is going to happen? You have to stop putting more and more control systems in place where people work from home. Oh, they're not in the office. I'm going to put some more constraints on them and call it a new file to fill in or a new way of tracking them. No wonder people are stressed right now in an office working from home. I know I spoke about it before, but seeing someone say it from a different point of view, which is about politics, I'm thinking, okay, so it's happening everywhere. One of my little things I always think is interesting, I am generally a sales and marketing person at heart. No matter how senior I've been in the background, still in my brain is sales and marketing, sales and marketing. And I've been looking at some pretty interesting international sales director roles, VP of sales and things like that for some pretty large corporates, even though large corporates are not exactly what I'm looking for. And what I find a lot of them say in their brief is, I'm paraphrasing, bring in your black book, which, or do you have a black book, or are you already connected with relevant CEOs around the world to ensure, the profitability of the companies straight away? And I think to myself, I have my own black book, of course I do. And I know a lot of people in certain countries, and I understand that. And if I do work for someone, yes, it will be available. But that's not why you want me to work for you. And it just seems a real archaic way of doing business. And I'll give you another reason. If I have a black book of 300 CEOs and I'm going to go to you because you sell pork chops, well, why don't I just get my own pork chop outsourced factory and just sell direct? Why do I actually need to bring my black book to you? So that means whoever you're employing is either weak or lying. See, for me, if I was interviewing for a global sales director for a pork chop factory, I would say, I'm not interested in a black book. I want to know some real simple things. Personality. Are you going to enhance my culture? Not a cultural fit, because I think that's wrong. I don't want no one who's going to fit. I want someone to enhance my company's culture. Then I say, can you open doors? Show me when you've opened doors in the past to create sales. Do you know people? Have you an immediate sales team around you? Because I know people around me. If I was brought in a position like that, I've got 2 sales managers that are amazing and they kick doors in. Can you bring people into the business that can do that? Can you train people to open doors? Can you close? Can you train people to close? This is what I'm interested in. A black book just sounds weak to me. So if you want a weak sales director, because at the end of the day, if they've got their own black book of that size, well, they're just going to do it on their own anyway. So it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I'm sorry for the unusual video today, because I had to get it off my chest about making a boo-boo, because I did make a boo-boo. The person who should have been interviewed yesterday has now been moved to Monday, but I'm going to slot it in because I'm only doing 2 interviews a week, so I'll slot it in somehow. I'll find a way. Next one of the interview videos is on Tuesday, and he's one of what I would call my mentors of the past, and even today I've called him and he gives me some great info. Really smart when it comes to sales processes. Really very clever. So I really recommend you watch him, and that will be uploaded by, I think, 12 noon, 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Anyway, thanks for that. Speak to you all soon. Bye bye.